All right, folks, Mark here again. I was having a discussion with a buddy of mine a few days ago, and so I decided to just discuss this, discuss a little bit what him and I were discussing. So, disclaimer, not a doctor. You guys been watching my videos. By now you know I'm no doctor, okay? We'll talk about some medical stuff, but no doctor here. I'm no doctor. We'll talk about health and stuff, but I read a book. I'll say it again. I read a book. A couple of books, okay? And that's as far as it goes. So we were talking about raising your sons, raising your boys, and so on and so forth. So if you have a son and your son is exhibiting feminine traits, feminine characteristics, let's say your son is 9 years old, and or 10, whatever, and he's exhibiting a lot of effeminate traits, we are quick to label that child, right? And we're quick to label that child and say the child is this, the child's that. But scientifically, from the medical standpoint, if a child is, let's say, 10, 11, 12, and a male child and exhibit feminine traits, all that means from a medical standpoint, or a biological standpoint, let's not use the word medical, from a biological standpoint, is that his testosterone levels are exceedingly low. And if his testosterone levels are low, well, let's just say this. First of all, estrogen and testosterone is not exclusive to a gender. I'm going to say that again. Estrogen, testosterone are not exclusive to any particular gender. So what I mean by that is estrogen is not exclusively in women. Testosterone is not exclusively in men. Translation. Both hormones are found in each gender. In a female, there is both estrogen and testosterone, and vice versa. In a male, there's both testosterone and estrogen. The distinction is proportions. There are higher proportions or dominancy. Testosterone is more dominant in men. Estrogen is more dominant in women. And all of this is governed and regulated by what's called the endocrine system. So, like anything in life, sometimes we have dysfunctions, right? Sometimes, there's a glitch. There's a glitch in the machine. There's some kind of technical difficulties. And what that means is a child can exhibit the mannerism of a feminine type because of the lack of production of testosterone, or low levels of production of testosterone. And what can be done to bring that back into what's called balance or equilibrium is to understand that exercising is a way to increase testosterone. Your body produces testosterone in what's called the gonads. The gonads are linked to what's called the Leydig cells, right? The Leydig cells work with the gonads by means of the LH hormone, which is secreted, I believe, by the pituitary gland. You can research this and confirm it, but I believe it's secreted by the pituitary gland, which is the LH, luteinizing hormone, which travels to the gonads. The gonads work with the Leydig cells. The Leydig cells converts cholesterol into testosterone. Yeah, and that's the short version. There's extensive research. You can research this stuff. I've read this again. I read a book. But be that as that may be, the point I'm making is that the cholesterol in your body is a precursor to the hormones in your body. So the cholesterol is a precursor to all the sex hormones in your body. So cholesterol is converted to testosterone, which is something that I've never learned until I was a grown man and read a book. Again, this is why reading is so important. So when you hear cholesterol, you usually associate cholesterol with something bad, right? You don't want to, you go to the doctor, your cholesterol level is high, that's no good. So as with anything in life, too much of anything is no good. But what we were never taught, I was never taught, maybe you learned this, I never knew this, but cholesterol is actually healthy in the sense that it is used to convert to testosterone by your gonads and the Leydig cells. So if you have a child, and also exercising, dieting, eating foods that are high in protein, low density, lipoprotein, these kind of things, you can actually increase your testosterone. But more importantly, the most important thing is exercising. Doing physical activity for a set duration, working out, exercising is also one of the most potent ways to increase testosterone. So again, when you see it, if you have a child and that child is exhibiting a young child, a male child that exhibits feminine characteristics at a very, very early age, it doesn't mean we don't want to label that child with our with what we were taught to label that child with. Rather, a little bit of research can show that all you have to do is put that child into physical activities to increase his testosterone, because testosterone is what's responsible for the masculinity of a man. But also remember this, in terms of testosterone goes with masculinity, femininity goes with estrogen. I'll say that again. Femininity goes with estrogen. Feminine energy works with estrogen. Masculine energy works with testosterone. So when you increase the testosterone levels, you're increasing the masculine energy. When you increase the estrogen levels, you're increasing the feminine energy. And again, neither of these testosterone or estrogen are exclusive to each gender, because we all have both, just to different degrees. This is why sometimes you'll see a young woman, a young lady, she might have facial hair, right? She might have excessive facial hair. And all that means is she has a higher than normal level of testosterone in her biology. And it can go, like I explained, for a young child, it could be the same. For a young boy, it could be the opposite. So it's just a matter of helping out the endocrine system, because the endocrine system, like I mentioned a second ago, is what regulates and moderates all of this process. And as with anything in life, sometimes what can also happen too, if you're exposed to certain chemicals, like if your wife or if your girl, if your lady's pregnant and she's around, she's always in the bathroom or always in the kitchen, and she's always around pine sol, Clorox, various cleaning products. These products fumigate, and if she's cleaning a lot and using these products and she's pregnant, for instance, she's going to be exposing the unborn child to these different chemicals by virtue of just being in the same room with these chemicals. So these chemicals are considered xenoestrogens, because xeno meaning foreign to. So once it gets inside, foreign element, once it starts to come in contact and gets inside the biology, these chemicals, they spur the growth of a child's biology. They spur the growth. They spur the growth of these hormones. That's why a 15-year-old girl could look like she's 25. That's why, you have these girls outside. They're so young. They're 16, but they look like they're in their 20s. It's a combination of xenoestrogens, right? The foods, the chemicals that are put in the foods that they eat. We put, companies put certain growth hormones in poultry, for instance, so that the chickens can grow longer, faster, and they can make more money. It's obviously for profit, corporate profit, and whatever, bottom line. So, again, the point of this is the conversation we're having is we just want to label our children so quickly. We don't want to be quick to label them as this or as that. As parents, if we take the time to become aware of the sciences and get the information and the knowledge, we can, as a father, you see you have a young child who's exhibiting certain traits that are feminine, doesn't mean that he's, all it means is that his estrogen levels are higher than his, or higher than normal. And again, men have estrogen, women have testosterone. It's not exclusive. We all have both. And also there is a, what is it? Wait, give me a second. I think it's aromatase, aromatase. I think it's called aromatase. Like I said, I read a book. I don't remember every damn thing, but I remember reading, and it was saying that aromatase is a reaction that it usually happens when you get older. But again, there are exceptions, right? There are exceptions to the rule, but it's a process where your body naturally turns testosterone into estrogen. Yeah, it's a process that affects men. and it turns our testosterone into estrogen. It usually happens once we get into our late 30s and 40s, but it sometimes happens earlier. It can happen to a child. It can happen to an adolescent, not a child, an adolescent, 16, 15, 14, 13. So there are things that happen within and this is just like I said, these are biological functions, but you can't label them as this or as that. You know, these are just, it's just, you know, organic functions that needs to